There's a moment we all feel but can't explain, a moment when silence becomes louder than noise, when your heart beats not just to keep you alive, but to remind you that you are alive. That moment is now, not someday, not when the timing is perfect, not when the pain is gone, not when you finally figured it out. Now, you've been taught to wait for the green light, for the right degree, the job offer, the apology, the confidence, the validation. You've been told you're not ready, that your past defines you, that your scars make you less, that your dreams are too big, your ideas too wild, your timing too soon. But what if none of that was true? What if the only thing standing between you and your power is a belief that someday is real? Let me tell you something, someday is a thief. It's the quiet assassin of greatness. It's the lullaby the world sings to dreamers until their dreams die of old age. Someday tells you, relax, it's not urgent. But life doesn't wait, your breath doesn't wait. And purpose doesn't punch a time card and show up when you feel ready. You weren't made to wait. You were made to ignite. Think of the men and women who shaped history not because they waited, but because they refused to. Thomas Edison failed 0 times before the light bulb sparked into existence. Imagine if he said, maybe I'll try again someday. Harriet Tubman didn't say, I'll lead them to freedom when I feel less afraid. She moved with fear in her bones and freedom in her eyes. Steve Jobs got fired from his own company, but instead of sulking into someday, he turned rejection into revelation. You see, your life is not a rehearsal. This moment is not a draft. You don't need permission to begin. You are the permission. Close your eyes, breathe in. That air, that's a gift. Not everyone got it today. That's your proof. You're meant to do something, to be something, not just one day, but this day, because someday is not on the calendar. But today is here. Today is alive. You were not born to fit into a blueprint written by people who feared failure more than they loved possibility. You were born to design a new one, to take up space, to speak truth even when your voice trembles, to feel deeply, to fall, rise, fall again, and rise stronger. You were not born to be perfect. You were born to be authentic. You were not born to chase approval. You were born to embody purpose. And purpose isn't about the job title on your LinkedIn. It's not the size of your apartment or the followers on your profile. Purpose is the fire you feel when you're doing what you were meant to do when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. You don't need the world to clap before you begin. You need you to believe, you to begin, you to break the chains of doubt with every breath of courage. We've been conditioned to think that clarity comes before action, that we need to understand the whole staircase before taking the first step. But the truth is, movement creates clarity. The path appears when you begin walking. The voice becomes clear when you start speaking. The fire grows when you keep feeding it. Don't wait for the fear to go away. Fear doesn't leave you outgrow it. You evolve past it. You stare at it and say, you may walk beside me, but you will not lead. You've waited long enough. You've doubted long enough. You've planned and dreamed and vision boarded long enough. The world doesn't need more plans. It needs you messy, honest, real, with your flaws and your fire, with your heart on your sleeve and your soul in your eyes. Because the world is not moved by perfect people. It's moved by present people, people who show up when it's hard, who keep going when it's heavy, who choose love when bitterness is easier, who choose to build when it's easier to break. So today, right now, look at your life, the chaos, the dreams, the setbacks, the magic, all of it is yours. It's not broken, it's becoming. You don't need a miracle. You are the miracle made of stardust and divine breath, wired for creation, built for resilience, called for more. And the voice that's whispering, you're not enough, that voice is not your truth, it's your history. Your truth is louder. It's the fire that won't go out. The idea that won't leave you alone. The knowing that you were meant for more than survival. You were meant for significance, and significance doesn't start one day. It starts now. You see, the universe doesn't wait for you to be ready. It waits for you to move. When the seed is planted, it doesn't say, wait until you understand the soil. It breaks through the darkness anyway. It reaches toward the sun, even when it's never seen light before. And so must you. This isn't about hustle. It's about hunger. A hunger for alignment. A hunger to stop pretending, stop postponing, stop settling for crumbs when you were meant for the feast. Because too many people are sleepwalking through life distracted, addicted to opinions, addicted to scrolling, chasing dopamine instead of destiny. But not you, not anymore. Because one day you woke up, you stopped searching for signs and realized you are the sign. The pain you've carried, the nights you couldn't sleep, the dreams you couldn't bury, even when life got heavy, they weren't curses, they were calls. Calls to rise, to remember, to return to the truth you've always known but been too afraid to claim. And that truth is this: you are powerful beyond comprehension. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You carry the blueprint of kings and queens in your DNA. You carry the memory of revolutions in your breath. You are the echo of every ancestor who dared to survive when survival was the only victory. You want clarity, then commit. You want confidence, then act. You want purpose, then serve. Because clarity is not given, it's earned. It's born from stepping into discomfort and saying, even if I fall, I will not fade. It's forged in fire, not comfort. And your comfort zone, that's not your home. That's your cage. Real confidence doesn't come from pretending to have it all together. It comes from knowing that even in your mess, you are meant. It comes from standing in front of your fears and saying, I will not run. Because bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's the presence of faith in spite of it. And that faith, it's not always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, a trembling step, a shaky voice that still speaks, that still believes. And belief, that's where the shift begins. Not belief in some abstract dream, but belief in yourself. In the you that no one applauds, in the you that doesn't always have the answers, in the you that keeps showing up anyway, because every legend you admire started the same way: ordinary, afraid, unsure, but they did something most people never do. They moved anyway. Oprah was told she didn't have the look for TV. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison and still walked out with grace, not vengeance. They were told no. They were told not yet. They were told you're not enough. And they answered, watch me. You don't need to wait for life to approve of you. You need to approve of yourself. You need to look in the mirror and stop asking for permission to be great. Greatness isn't given, it's chosen. It's not in the spotlight, it's in the shadows. In the quiet decisions, the mornings you get up when you don't feel like it, the days you show up without applause, the nights you say no to what's easy because you're chasing what's eternal, that's where greatness lives. And if you listen closely, you'll hear it. The whisper in your soul, the ache in your chest. It's not anxiety. It's not confusion. It's your calling. It's asking you, how long will you wait to become who you already are? Because some days a liar, it promises ease but delivers emptiness. It promises safety but steals your soul. And every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you give it power, but not anymore. You've waited long enough. It's time to reclaim your now. To let go of who the world told you to be and step into who you were born to become. To stop editing your dreams to make other people comfortable. To stop shrinking to fit into rooms you were meant to rebuild. To stop apologizing for your fire. Because the truth is, your fire is not too much. It's just been burning in the wrong places. In anxiety, in doubt, in hesitation. But when you channel it into purpose, when you stop asking, what if I fail? And start asking, what if I fly? That's when the world changes. And it doesn't start next year. It doesn't start when the timing is better or the stars align or someone finally sees your worth. It starts now, right here, right in the middle of the mess, right in the middle of your fear, right in the middle of your doubts, because greatness doesn't wait, and neither should you. You see, there's a reason you feel the pull to rise, to break free, to be more than your routine, more than your mistakes, more than what they told you was possible. That pull isn't a fantasy, it's a signal, a divine whisper calling you back to your original design. Because you were not made for mediocrity. You were not made for the sidelines. You were not made to numb your spirit in a sea of distractions and small talk. You were made to awaken, to wake up in a world that numbs, to love in a world that hides, to serve in a world that takes, to stand up in a world that sits down and waits for someone else to lead. And when you finally understand that, something shifts. You stop asking life to be easier. You start asking yourself to be stronger. You stop blaming your past for your delay. You start building a future that doesn't need validation to begin. Because purpose isn't a map you find. It's a fire you follow. A fire that lives inside of you. And yes, it flickers. Yes, it dims. But it never dies. Because it's not just your sit was given to you, entrusted to you, not for comfort, not for approval, but for impact. And impact doesn't start when you have it all together. Impact starts when you choose to show Upaven if you're still healing. Even if you're still learning, even if you're still carrying yesterday's weight, you don't need to be ready. You need to be willing to get uncomfortable, willing to fail forward, willing to stop performing for the crowd and start becoming for yourself. Because the world doesn't change when someone impresses it. The world changes when someone awakens it. But before you can wake up the world, you have to wake up yourself. And that starts with one radical belief, that your life matters, that your presence is not an accident, that your existence is not random. You were born with timing, with purpose, with a soul that remembers who you are long before the world told you who to be. It's time to stop living on autopilot, to stop scrolling through other people's highlights, wishing you had a life you could love. You don't need their life, you need your light. And light only comes when you stop hiding in the shadows of self-doubt. When you start believing that maybe, just maybe, the thing you keep dreaming about is already yours. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned with something greater than the algorithm, greater than opinions, greater than fear, aligned with destiny. And destiny doesn't knock politely. Sometimes it screams through breakdowns. Sometimes it whispers through silence. Sometimes it looks like failure. Sometimes it feels like loss. But always it leads you home, back to yourself, back to your breath, back to the real you, the one underneath the masks. The one who isn't afraid to be vulnerable, to be seen, to be real. And when you show up like that, when you stop performing and start living, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror for freedom, a blueprint for bravery, a lighthouse for those still lost in the fog. And make no mistake, there are people waiting on your obedience to your calling. There are lives on the other side of your courage. There are breakthroughs on the other side of your choice to rise today, not someday, because you are not just living for yourself. You are living for the ripple effect, for the soul who sees your journey and says, if they can do it, so can I. That's the power of one awakened life. That's the power of now. So breathe, not like someone killing time, but like someone who understands every breath is a blessing. Walk not like someone who's unsure, but like someone who remembers they were chosen. Speak not like someone rehearsing lines, but like someone who believes their voice can move mountains. You have something the world needs. A story, a light, a vision, a voice. And if you don't share it, no one else can. Because there is only one you, only one person with your fingerprints, your flaws, your fire, only one soul who has walked through your darkness and still decided to keep walking. You're not here to play it safe. You're here to shake the ground beneath you, to disrupt mediocrity, to call forth greatness in others, to speak truth in a world addicted to lies, to plant seeds that outlive your lifetime. And you don't do that someday. You do it now. Because waiting is no longer an option, because the world is burning and your voice is water. Because someone somewhere is drowning and your story is the road. Because you've been quiet too long. It's time to remember, time to return, time to rise. Now, not someday, and as you rise, you will be tested, not by the world alone, but by your own mind, by the echo of old patterns whispering, who do you think you are? By the ghosts of insecurity, of shame, of every time you tried and it didn't work out. But hear this clearly, those voices are not truth. They are echoes of a version of you that didn't know better. They are fading shadows, not your future. Because you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the trauma or the silence or the chapters where you nearly gave up. You are the author of what comes next. And the pen has always been in your hands. The mind will try to protect you by keeping you small, because small feels safe. But safe has never built empires. Safe has never sparked revolutions. Safe has never awakened the soul. You weren't made to play small. You were made to stretch, to expand, to elevate. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. Growth always is. Just ask the butterfly who had to let go of crawling. Just ask the seed who had to burst to bloom. There is no transformation without a tearing, no elevation without excavation. And you've already survived the breaking. Now it's time to become the becoming. You're not here to fit in. You're here to stand out. You're not here to repeat history. You're here to rewrite it. You're not here to mimic greatness. You're here to embody it. So drop the guilt, drop the shame, drop the weight of expectations that were never yours to carry, and choose yourself. Not the polished, filtered, curated version of you, but the real you, the one with scars and soul, the one who feels deeply, the one who keeps going even when the world tells you to quit. Because that version of you, that raw, honest, unbreakable you is what the world needs. Not perfection, but presence. Not someone who has it all figured out, but someone who is willing to walk through the fog anyway, to take the step without seeing the staircase, to say, even if I fall, I will rise again and again and again. Because discipline isn't about forcing yourself. It's about loving yourself enough to follow through, to do what must be done, even when it's hard, to honor your future self with today's decisions. It's easy to be inspired, but discipline, that's where destiny is built. Not in the heat of motivation, but in the cold mornings when no one is watching. When your alarm goes off and your body says no, but your why says yes. When the path is lonely and you still keep walking. When no one claps and you still keep giving. When your heart is heavy, but your spirit stays light. That is the mark of a warrior. And make no mistake, you are one. Not because you never feel weak, but because you never let weakness stop you. And the more you step into your light, the more resistance you will face. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. Resistance shows up when you're close to something powerful. It's the fear that tries to keep you from the finish line. But listen, fear is not your enemy. It's just a compass, pointing you to where the real growth lives. So when you feel afraid, don't run. Lean in. Because the version of you on the other side of fear is the one you've been looking for. And the truth, that version has always been inside you. Waiting, watching, whispering, I'm ready when you are. So be ready, be bold, be unreasonable with your belief. Because history doesn't remember the ones who played it safe. It remembers the ones who risked it all for something bigger than themselves. People like Thomas Edison, who failed over 1,000 times before giving us light. Like Henry Ford, who was ridiculed for trying to replace horses with machines, like Rosa Parks, who sat down and sparked a movement by standing in spirit. They weren't superheroes. They were human, just like you. But they decided, and in their decision, they changed the world. What if that power lived in you too? It does. And now you know, now is the time to own it. To stop waiting for a clear path and start paving one. To stop hoping for luck and start showing up with faith. To stop asking the world for permission and start commanding your place in it. Because this is your time. Not someday, not when the stars align, not when you have more confidence or more money or more approval. Now, you've been chosen for this moment, not because it's easy, but because it's yours. You've been waiting for the sign, haven't you? That lightning bolt, that voice from the sky, that permission slip from the universe that says, you are ready. But the truth is, the sign is you, your breath, your heartbeat, your longing to become, your quiet courage just to wake up today and still try again. That's the sign. Because readiness isn't a moment you wait for. It's a choice you create. Every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you choose faith over fear, every time you show up, not as a finished product, but as a work in progress, moving forward with soul, and you don't have to have it all together, no one does. Not the people you admire, not the giants of industry, not the visionaries of our time. They all began with confusion, with fear, with that same pit in their stomach that says, what if I'm not enough? But here's what they learned and what you must remember. You grow into your greatness. You step into it one imperfect decision at a time, one honest effort, one vulnerable leap. Because success isn't about brilliance. It's about persistence. It's about falling and standing and falling again, but never staying down. It's about walking through the doors no one held open for you. It's about refusing to settle for a life that doesn't set your soul on fire. And fire doesn't apologize. It doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. It burns, it glows, it transforms everything it touches. You have that fire. It's in the tears you wiped alone when no one saw you breaking. It's in the laughter you found after pain. It's in the strength you built in silence. It's in every time you were overlooked but kept building in the dark. That fire, your fire, is what will light the path forward. But don't expect it to be smooth. This path is not for the faint. This path will ask for your attention, your focus, your refusal to be average. It will ask you to give up the comfort of victimhood and rise into the discomfort of power. Because power is not control. Power is responsibility. The responsibility to show up fully, to stop blaming and start creating, to stop wishing and start building, to stop waiting for a miracle and become one. And yes, people may not understand you. They may not see your vision. They may laugh, doubt, or walk away. Let them. You were never meant to be understood by the ones who choose small thinking. You were meant to inspire them. And even if you never get the applause, the awards, the spotlight, you will know deep in your soul that you lived, that you didn't let fear write your story, that you didn't wait for someday, that you woke up and chose to become the person you were born to be. Because legacy is not built on someday. Legacy is built on today, in the choices you make when no one is watching, in the values you hold when they cost you something, in the love you give even when it's not returned. That's greatness. That's impact. That's a life worth remembering. You're not here to float through life like a feather in the wind. You're here to carve your path, to plant seeds in concrete, to make noise in silence, to turn every no into fuel, every setback into strength. Because what's chasing you isn't fear. It's your calling, and your calling will never stop knocking until you answer. So don't wait for the right mood. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait until you feel brave. Courage doesn't come before the leap. It comes because of it. So leap with your heart wide open, with your mind focused, with your soul rooted in something eternal, because the world needs you, not another influencer, not another echo. You, your realness, your fire, your healing, your truth. Speak it, live it, be it, even if your voice shakes, even if your knees tremble, even if no one claps yet, because when you step fully into who you are, you become unshakable, you become unforgettable, you become undeniable, and most of all, you become free. Freedom isn't found in escaping pain, it's found in facing it, in sitting with the discomfort long enough to understand it, in choosing to transform instead of numb, because you weren't made to drift through life anesthetized. You were made to feel it all. The ache, the wonder, the joy, the fire. And yes, feeling it all can break you open. But that's the only way the light gets in. Leonard Cohen once said, there's a crack in everything, that's how the light gets in. And the cracks in you, they aren't flaws, they are entry points for grace, for truth, for healing. You've been taught to hide your wounds, to filter your sadness, to keep going as if nothing ever hurt. But real strength isn't silence. It's authenticity. It's saying, yes, I've been through hell and I'm still here. It's saying, yes, I've doubted, feared, fallen, but I haven't stopped showing up. Because showing up when it's easy is habit. But showing up when it's hard, that's character. And right now, the world is starving for character. Not charisma, not performance, not curated perfection, but depth. The kind that doesn't just inspire, it awakens. So awaken. This is your season to unlearn, to peel away the layers of everything they told you success should look like, to burn the old script, the one that said you have to compete, compare, or conform, because you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to break through. The tallest trees didn't grow in the comfort of shade. They reached for light through storms, winds, and seasons of drought. They stood tall even when the earth shook. That's what resilience looks like. That's what you are. And the storms, they're not punishments. They're preparation. Each one shaping you, each one stripping away what you thought you needed so you can rise with what you truly are. Clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from walking one step, one stumble, one sacred fall at a time. You find your path by taking it. And purpose, it's not a destination you arrive at. It's a decision you make right now to live with meaning, to turn your pain into power, to use your story not as a wound to hide, but as a weapon of hope for others. There are people right now praying for the wisdom you've gained through your darkest nights. They don't need your perfection. They need your truth. They need your courage. They need your story, the unedited version, because your scars can be someone else's survival guide. But only if you let them breathe. Only if you stop covering them and start owning them. Own your becoming. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not too late. You are right on time, right on purpose, right on the edge of something divine. And the voice in your head that tells you otherwise, that voice is a liar, a relic of your past. You don't owe it any more of your future. Silence it with truth, with movement, with faith. Because faith is not blind. Faith sees more clearly than fear ever could. Faith sees the unseen. Faith sees you, not as you are, but as you are becoming. And becoming is messy. It's non-linear. It's not a highlight reel, it's the behind-the-scenes footage of your soul's evolution. And if you're in the middle of that mess right now, good. That means you're in it. That means you haven't given up. That means you're still fighting for something real. Let the world think you're lost. Let them say you're crazy. Let them question your path. Just don't you question it. Because your soul knows it always has, you didn't come this far to turn back. You didn't survive all that you did to remain invisible. You didn't cry those tears to stay small. You are here to rise, to lead, to shine. And not just for yourself, but for the ones watching, for the silent warriors holding their breath, waiting to see if someone like them can make it. Show them, not by preaching, not by pretending, but by being the real you, the brave you, the you that doesn't just talk about dreams, but builds them one raw brick at a time. Because this life, this one sacred, extraordinary life, it will not wait for you to be ready. It will not pause until you feel worthy. It will not slow down until you catch your breath. It moves. And it dares you to move with it, to stop sitting on the sidelines watching others become, to stop scrolling through borrowed dreams while your own gathered dust. This life is your spot only if you take it, only if you stop waiting for permission, for clarity, for perfection, and start walking with what you have. Because what you have is already enough to begin. You don't need another course, another degree, another opinion. You need decision, a single, clean, fearless decision to say, I will no longer betray the calling inside me. Because make no mistake, every time you say later, you are choosing never. And someday is a myth, a mirage, a trick played by fear to keep you tame. Now is the only truth. Now is the only power you'll ever hold. And what you do with now defines the rest of your life. So what if you fail? Then you learn, you grow, you adjust, and you try again. Because failure is never the opposite of success, it's the ingredient. Look at anyone who's ever achieved greatness. They didn't glide through life untouched. They failed louder, they failed faster, they failed forward. Walt Disney was fired for lack of imagination. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was removed from his own company, and yet they kept going because they understood one sacred law of life. Your worth is not negotiable. It's not determined by the opinions of others or the outcomes of today. It is rooted in who you are and who you are becoming. And you are becoming unstoppable every time you rise after being knocked down. Every time you choose self-respect over comfort. Every time you move forward with shaking hands and a steady heart. That's how warriors are made, not in easy seasons, but in the fire. So if life feels hard right now, good, that means you're being forged. That means you're being shaped. That means something big is on the other side of this stretch. And no, you don't have to know what that is yet. You just have to trust. Trust the process. Trust the path. Trust yourself. Because this journey, this climb toward purpose, it will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you old identities. It will cost you the version of you that stayed small to make others feel big. But what you gain freedom, you gain peace, you gain a life that feels like truth instead of performance. You'll sleep deeper, you'll love harder, you'll live louder, because you'll know without a single doubt that you showed up fully, honestly, unapologetically, not as an imitation, not as a version someone else wanted, but as you. And listen closely now, because this part matters. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your fire. You don't have to dilute your vision to make others comfortable. You don't have to shrink to fit in rooms. You were meant to transform. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them question your path. You just keep building brick by brick, breath by breath, step by sacred step. Until one day they'll look at the life you've built, the peace in your presence, the power in your eye sand. They'll understand you didn't get lucky. You got intentional. You chose your calling. You bet on your spirit. You trusted the divine voice within you that whispered, keep going, So keep going. When it hurts, when it's quiet, when it's slow, keep going, because every sunrise you rise again is a victory. Every day you choose not to give up is a rebellion. Every step you take in faith is a revolution. You're not here to survive your life. You're here to ignite it. You're here to turn the ordinary into extraordinary, to walk into the mundane and breathe meaning into it, to touch the world not with perfection but with presence that says, I'm here, I'm real, I care, I'm alive. And maybe they won't always understand it. Maybe your light will be too bright for those still afraid of their own. But your job isn't to dim. Your job is to shine so that others may remember how to turn on their own. You were not sent here to play small. You weren't created to chase shallow things. You were made to go deep, to rise with depth, to build a legacy that echoes through time and not in noise, but in impact. Because there will come a day when people don't remember your titles, your followers, your status, but they will remember how you made them feel. They'll remember the truth in your voice, the fire in your eyes, the peace in your presence. So become unforgettable not by being impressive, but by being authentic. That's what legacy is. It's not the money you make or the things you buy. It's the lives you touch. The love you give, the energy you bring into a room when you walk in full of faith and empty of ego. That's the kind of power you're being called into now. Not loud, not for sacred. And yes, sacred things take time, but they also require action, move, even if you're afraid, even if it's messy, even if it makes no sense on paper, because logic is not your God, purpose is. And purpose often asks you to do the illogical, to step when it's uncertain, to believe when there's no proof, to build when there's no blueprint. That's what visionaries do. That's what dreamers do. That's what you are being asked to do. And there will be days you'll want to quit. Days the mountain seems too high, the silence too loud, the work too heavy. But in those moments, breathe. Breathe and remember who you are. Not your resume, not your trauma, not your past mistakes. You, the soul that survived storms you never told anyone about. You, the heart that kept beating when it was shattered. You, the warrior who wakes up and keeps walking even when no one's clapping. You are not weak because you struggle. You are strong because you still show up. And when you show up, life meets you there. Not always in the way you expected, but always in the way you need. Because the universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're ready to receive. And readiness isn't about having all the answers. It's about saying yes anyway. So say yes. Yes to your growth. Yes to your calling. Yes to the vision that scares you because it should. It's bigger than you for a reason. It requires you to become more than you've been. And becoming more doesn't mean abandoning who you are. It means returning to who you've always been. Before the world told you who to be. Before fear wrapped itself around your light and called it realism. Before doubt disguised itself as humility and told you not to dream too big, let that version of you fall away. Let it burn. Let it die so that something truer can live. Because reinvention is resurrection. And you, my friend, are not done. You're just getting started. So don't look back. Don't retreat. Don't wait for certainty or cheerleaders. Walk forward with trembling hands and an open heart, with vision that sees what others don't, with love that burns through resistance. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be clear on who you are, clear on what you stand for, clear on what you will no longer tolerate from life, from others, or from yourself. Clarity is a revolution, and once you have it, the rest will fall into place. Maybe not instantly, but inevitably, because clarity plus action equals momentum, and momentum compounds, today's small step becomes tomorrow's breakthrough. Today's whisper becomes tomorrow's roar, Today's commitment becomes tomorrow's transformation. But you'll never reach that tomorrow if you don't show up today. So show up fully, honestly, boldly, because your time is not someday, it never was. Your time is now. This is the moment you stop rehearsing your greatness and start living it. This is the chapter where you stop waiting to be chosen and choose yourself. No more looking for external validation. No more collecting permission slips signed by fear. No more apologizing for wanting more. You are not selfish for wanting to grow. You are not arrogant for believing you were made for more. You are not naive for choosing hope in a world addicted to cynicism. You are awake. And when you are awake, you can see it all for what it really is. The noise, it's distraction. The comparison, it's illusion. The fear, it's just the echo of a smaller version of you trying to hold on. But the true you, the highest you, is no longer interested in survival. You are ready to thrive. And thriving doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you struggle forward. It means you don't let the pain close your heart. It means you don't let disappointment chain you to mediocrity. It means you rise. Even if your legs shake, even if no one claps, even if the results are slow to show up, you keep going because the journey itself is sacred. Because every step forward is a victory over your past. Every breath of courage is a bridge between who you were and who you're becoming. And yes, becoming will cost you comfort. But staying stuck, that'll cost you everything. Your peace, your potential, your purpose. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a persistent spirit. The kind that says, I don't know how this ends, but I know who I refuse to be anymore. That line between who you were and who you're becoming, it's drawn in this moment. Right here, right now, this decision, this breath, because all change begins with a choice. You don't become great by accident. You don't stumble into meaning. You don't drift into purpose. You decide to rise when it's easier to quit. Decide to lead when it's easier to follow. Decide to speak truth when silence is more comfortable. Decide to love when cynicism seems safer. Because the easy road never made legends. The safe route never awakened revolutions. The comfort zone has never built empires, transformed lives, or left a mark on history. And you were born to leave a mark. You may not know how yet. You may not have all the resources, the connections, the support, but you have the most powerful thing anyone can possess. A willing spirit, and with that, the game changes. Because spirit doesn't quit. Spirit doesn't bow to failure. Spirit doesn't settle for almost. Spirit transcends. It builds when others sleep. It believes when others doubt. It endures when others fade. That's the fire inside of you. Not given by man, not controlled by systems. It's eternal. It's divine. And it's been waiting for you to wake up. So wake up, not slowly, not half-heartedly. Wake up with fury. Wake up with grace. Wake up with a quiet conviction that now is the time. Not tomorrow. Not when you're less busy. Not when you're more confident. Now. Because confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. You build it with every risk you take. Every voice you raise, every dream you defend against the tide of doubt. You earn your courage on the battlefield of daily choices, and you'll never feel ready. But readiness is a myth created by fear to keep you frozen. What you need is willingness. Willingness to try, willingness to be seen, willingness to fall and get back up again. And in that willingness, you become unstoppable. The storms may come, but they will not drown you. The failures may stack, but they will not define you. The world may laugh, but they will not understand the fire you carry. Because that fire is not for them. It's for the ones who feel unseen. It's for the child you once were, silently praying someone would believe in you. It's for the future you that will look back on this day and say, that was the moment everything changed. That was the moment you stopped shrinking, stopped hiding, stopped folding your brilliance into something the world could digest. That was the moment you took up space, unapologetically, completely, divinely, because you were never meant to be small, not in your voice, not in your vision, not in your love. You were meant to expand, to stretch, to evolve until you're unrecognizable to the version of you that once settled. And yes, expansion hurts. It cracks open everything you thought was solid. It pulls you from the soil you grew comfortable in and forces your roots to search deeper. It demands you shed the mask, the one you wore to fit in, to keep the peace, to survive. But survival is no longer the goal. Living is, and not just any kind of living, but full body, soul first, purpose-driven living. The kind that wakes you up in the morning with fire in your bones. The kind that whispers at night, yes, this is it. This is what you were made for. Because fulfillment isn't found in finishing the race. It's found in running it fully present. It's in the way you show up to the mundane with sacred eyes. The way you turn your pain into poetry. The way you turn your waiting into becoming. And you will be tempted to rush it, to push past the stillness, to chase results instead of alignment. But don't shortcut your own depth. Don't bypass the becoming to taste the illusion of success. Real success isn't loud. It's not gold-plated or filtered for approval. It's quiet. It's internal. It's the peace of knowing you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you were born to do. So release the need to prove, to be seen, to convince. The ones who are meant to feel your frequency, they will. You won't need to broadcast it. You'll live it. And that will be enough. Let the others chase trends. Let them measure life by likes and applause. You measure life by how much of your soul you bring into each moment. Because in the end, we are not remembered for our hustle. We are remembered for our heart. And the truth is, you've had the heart all along. It's just been buried under years of fear, layers of self-doubt. Memories of moments when you tried and it didn't work. So you told yourself, maybe it's safer not to try again. But safety is not your destiny. Comfort is not your home. You are meant to feel life coursing through you, to dance with risk, to flirt with the unknown, to stretch into the places that scare you. Because those places, that's where your soul wakes up. That's where your next chapter begins. And maybe it's messy. Maybe it's slow. Maybe it's lonely at first. But it's yours. Unfiltered, uncompromised, unchained. And in a world addicted to imitation, authenticity is rebellion. In a culture that rewards noise, your quiet truth will echo louder. In a system built on separation, your love will be revolution. So love like you've never been broken. Lead like no one is watching. Build like eternity is your canvas. This is what it means to live aligned, to walk with soul instead of ego, to lead with vision instead of validation. And once you taste that kind of living, the kind that starts from within, you will never settle for scraps again. No more diluted dreams. No more waiting for green lights from people who don't understand your road. No more someday. Your time is now. Your fire is real. Your mission has already begun. And now that you've begun, don't look back, because you're not walking away from your past in shame. You're walking forward in power. You're not escaping who you were. You're honoring that version of you by rising beyond them. Because that version of you who felt lost, insecure, forgotten, they weren't weak. They were the roots. They were the soil. They were the seed buried in silence, preparing for bloom. And this is the bloom. This is what happens when you choose growth over comfort, when you decide that fear doesn't get to be the author of your story anymore. When you finally realize that your life was never meant to be a reaction, it was always meant to be a creation. You are not here to exist. You are here to create, to write your name into moments, to write your love into people, to write your truth into this world until your life becomes a letter that someone else reads and says, because you lived, I now believe I can too. That is legacy. That is leadership. That is real success. And it's not built in one day. It's built in the daily, in the hours when no one is watching, in the choices no one claps for, in the discipline that no one sees, but that you feel in your soul. The kind of discipline that says, I don't need motivation, I have commitment. I don't wait to feel ready. I move when I hear the whisper. I don't let my emotions lead, I let my values lead. Because values don't waver, values don't shrink when life gets heavy. Values are your roots when the winds of distraction try to uproot your focus. And focus is your sword. Now, the world will throw noise at you. Notifications, opinions, options, escape routes. But you didn't come this far to be seduced by mediocrity. You came to build, to sculpt, to become. So let every no be sacred. Let every boundary be protection for your becoming. Let every choice be a vote for the future you're stepping into. And when the world says, who do you think you are? You say it clearly, I am the storm that silence created. I am the dream that failure could not destroy. I am the purpose that outlasted the pressure. And you don't have to shout it, you live it. You live it in how you show up to the moment. You live it in how you treat people who can't offer you anything. You live it in how you pursue your mission like it's oxygen. Because for you it is. You don't chase this dream because it's nice. You chase it because it's necessary. Necessary to your soul. Necessary to your sanity. Necessary to the healing of people who will never meet you, but who will feel you because you had the courage to rise. And rise you will, even if the world stays quiet, even if the recognition never comes, even if the path is filled with failure and detours and lonely nights, you still rise. Because purpose doesn't ask for comfort. It asks for obedience. It asks for consistency. It asks for the kind of faith that walks forward even when the map disappears. That's who you are now. The one who doesn't need all the answers to keep walking. The one who understands that every great story was born in uncertainty. That every legend once stood at the edge of the unknown and jumped anyway. So jump. Jump before you think you're ready. Jump before the world says it's time. Jump before your fear finds new reasons to keep you safe. Because safety is not the promise. Transformation is, and transformation is wild. It's untamed. It doesn't knock. It kicks the door open and says, let's go. You're done pretending you don't know who you are. Because you do know, you've always known. It's just been buried beneath the lies you were fed, the doubt you collected, and the silence you learned to wear like armor. But now you're shedding it all. You're stepping out. You're stepping up. You are not the echo. You are the voice. And you don't need to scream to be heard. You just need to speak from the soul. Because when you do, everything changes. Your relationships deepen. Your decisions sharpen. Your presence expands. People will feel it, the shift, the certainty, the quiet fire. They'll ask what happened to you. And you'll smile. Not because you've arrived, but because you've awakened. Awakened to the truth you always knew, that your time is not some distant future waiting to arrive. Your time has always been here, right here, right now. Your time is now. And once you've awakened, don't you dare go back to sleep. Because now you've tasted truth. You've heard the sound of your soul when it's not silenced. You've seen what's possible when you stop dimming your own light just to make others comfortable. And you know what? Not everyone will like this version of you. The free you, the bold you, the version of you that no longer apologizes for dreaming out loud. Let them leave. Let the ones who only knew the watered down version drift away, because the real you doesn't need their approval to shine. You were not born to fit in. You were born to expand the space you walk into. Not by force, but by presence, by truth. By being so fully you that others remember how to be fully them. Because authenticity is contagious. When one soul stands up, 1,000 souls remember they can too. So stand tall. Even when your knees shake, stand honest. Even when the lie would be easier, stand rooted. Even when the winds of doubt howl around you. Because storms don't scare trees with deep roots. And your roots now run deep through pain that tried to break you, through rejection that tried to define you, through seasons of silence that taught you to listen inward instead of outward. You've earned this power, this peace, this clarity, and now it's time to live from it. You no longer ask, what will they think? You ask, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? You no longer seek applause. You seek alignment. You no longer try to prove your worth. You embody it. Because worth is not earned. It is remembered. And you're remembering now. You're remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Before the labels, before the pressure, before the grind turned into a cage and the noise drowned out your intuition. But now you hear it again, that whisper, that still soft voice that says, you were made for more than survival, more than distraction, more than the loop of doubt and delay and detour. You were made to lead, to love, to light up the spaces that darkness thought it owned. But you can't light up the world if you're still hiding your flame. So stop hiding, stop hesitating, stop waiting for all the lights to turn green before you move. Move because it's time. Move because your silence has served its season. Move because your destiny isn't a someday, it's now. Now is when the world needs your truth, not when you're more polished, not when you've perfected the message. Now raw, real, unfiltered. Now is when someone is praying for the strength that your story will give them. Now is when a door is opening, but it needs your footsteps to walk through it. Now is when you stop preparing for the life you want and start living it. Because there comes a point where preparation becomes procrastination, where strategy becomes a shield, where thinking becomes an excuse to keep from doing. And that point, it's here. It's now. This is not your practice life. This is your one life. Unrepeatable, unrewindable, unapologetically yours. So live like it, live with urgency, not anxiety urgency. The kind that comes from knowing that time is a gift, not a guarantee. The kind that pulls you out of bed in the morning and says, I will not waste this breath. Because every breath is a page in your story. Every choice is a sentence. Every day is a paragraph. And someday your life will be read by the ones who come after you. So write it well, write it with courage, write it with conviction. Write it with all the colors and emotions and scars that made you you. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. They don't exist. Don't wait for the fear to vanish. It won't. Don't wait for the world to make space for your dream. Take it. Take your seat at the table you were born to sit at, or build a new table entirely, one where truth is welcomed, one where creativity flows, one where you don't have to shrink just to belong, because belonging never requires shrinking. Belonging means bringing all of you, the pain, the progress, the poetry of your becoming. It's all sacred. It's all necessary. It's all yours. And this chapter of your life, it doesn't start with a plan. It starts with a decision, a line drawn in the sand that says, I will not go back to sleep. I will not delay the life that's calling me. I will not trade my power for approval. Because now you know. Now you see clearly, and when you see clearly, everything changes. No more waiting, no more wishing, no more someday. Your time is now. Now is the moment you break the chain, the invisible one, the one that's wrapped around generations, the one made of silence, shame, settling, the one no one talks about, but everyone feels. You weren't just born to succeed. You were born to disrupt, to rewrite the script that was handed to you and say, this ends with me and something new begins. Because someone has to be first to forgive, first to rise, first to step out of the story of survival and into the story of sovereignty. That someone is you. You weren't chosen by accident. You were chosen because you could carry it. Not just the dream, but the responsibility that comes with it. The responsibility to grow when it would be easier to stay stuck. To evolve when everyone around you clings to comfort. To believe when you've been given every reason to doubt. Because this isn't about just changing your life. It's about changing the lineage. Every choice you make now echoes into forever. Every healing you do creates space for someone else to breathe. Every time you show up fully, you raise the bar for what's possible. Don't you see, this is bigger than you. It's never just been about your goals, your vision, your dream. It's about impact. It's about legacy. It's about living in such a way that when people cross your path, they walk away different. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real enough to be vulnerable, real enough to keep showing up, real enough to love even when it wasn't returned. That kind of presence changes people. That kind of presence changes the world. And you don't need a platform to do it. You don't need 1 million followers. You don't need letters behind your name. You just need intention, clarity, and a willingness to live from your center, not your circumstances. Because circumstances will shift. They will test you. They will push you to the edge and ask, do you still believe now? Believe anyway. When it's dark, believe. When it's quiet, believe. When it looks like nothing is working, believe. Because belief isn't about seeing. It's about choosing to trust the root even when there's no fruit yet. That's what the great ones did. Edison failed 1,000 times and still chose light. Lincoln lost more elections than he won and still chose leadership. Disney was told he lacked imagination and still chose to dream. What if they had stopped? What if they had listened to the noise? What if they had said, maybe this isn't for me? History would have lost masterpieces. The world would have missed out on magic. And we'd never know how close they came to giving up. So let that be your reminder. Just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because it's slow doesn't mean it's not working. Just because you can't see the harvest yet doesn't mean the seeds aren't growing. Stay the course, keep the vision, honor the process. Because transformation doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the shadows, in the silence, in the sacred hidden places where your ego dies and your soul is born. That's where the real shift happens. That's where strength is forged. That's where your calling becomes undeniable. Not loud, not flashy, but unshakable. And when it becomes unshakable, you become unstoppable, not because the world makes it easy, but because your why becomes greater than the weight. So carry it. Carry the fire. Carry the dream like it's oxygen. Carry the mission like it's the heartbeat of your life. And know that you're not walking alone. You walk with the echoes of every ancestor who dreamed but couldn't. You walk with the hopes of those who need your light to see their own. You walk with the divine rhythm of something greater, deeper, wiser. This isn't just a career. This isn't just a hustle. This is a calling. And callings don't come to the most qualified. They come to the most willing to risk, willing to rise, willing to fall and rise again, willing to walk forward even when the path disappears beneath your feet. That's you now. The one who moves by faith, not fear. The one who builds before the blueprint is complete. The one who doesn't wait to be chosen because you finally realize you already are. Already chosen, already enough, already ready. No more waiting, no more shrinking, no more telling yourself you'll start someday. Because your time is not someday, your time is now. Now begins the walk through the fire, not to be burned, but to be refined. Because no one becomes gold without heat. No one becomes diamond without pressure. And no one becomes great without first being broken wide open. But hear this. Being broken is not the end. It's the birthplace of becoming. Your cracks are not your curse. They are where the light breaks through. The world told you to hide them, to bury your struggles, to fake the smile, filter the pain, package the trauma like it never happened. But real power lives in the unfiltered. Real strength lives in the story you were once afraid to tell. Because when you stop hiding what hurt you, you start healing others with your honesty, and your honesty is your superpower. You don't need to pretend you were never lost. You just need to be someone who found their way back, someone who stood in the ruins of who they used to be and built something unshakable from the dust. You are not here to impress. You are here to impact. You are not here to perform. You are here to embody, to walk with the kind of integrity that speaks louder than words, to carry yourself like someone who knows their value, not from ego, but from deep sacred truth. And that truth is this. You are the result of 1,000,000 silent battles no one saw, of nights you didn't think you'd survive, of mornings you rose without a reason except that something inside you whispered, keep going. So keep going, not because it's easy, not because it's clear, but because you've come too far to go back now. You didn't climb out of the pit to return to the cage. You didn't wake up your soul just to lull it back to sleep. You didn't endure the pain of transformation just to settle for the comfort of the past. That version of you is gone. Grieve it if you must, but don't resurrect it. Don't resurrect the one who doubted their own power, who begged for permission, who lived on autopilot, numbed out and muted. That version of you died the day you said no more. No more waiting for someone else to choose you. No more shrinking for a paycheck. No more tolerating what drains your soul just to keep the peace. You are not here for peacekeeping. You are here for truth speaking. You are here to stir souls, to disrupt the default, to wake people up by the way you live. So live loudly, live fully, live like every heartbeat is a declaration. I'm still here, I'm still rising, I'm still choosing more. Because every day you rise, you rewrite the rules. You show someone else what's possible. You give someone else permission to try. And that's the ripple effect of authenticity. You think you're just making small choices, quitting the job, ending the toxic relationship, starting the business, getting therapy. But what you're really doing is reclaiming your life. You are reminding the world that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's sacred. You are proving that healing is not weakness, it's warrior work. You are demonstrating that you don't have to wait for the system to recognize you. You are the system now, the system of new rules, the system of higher standards, the system of truth over tradition, because the world doesn't need more followers of what is. It needs creators of what could be. And you are a creator now, not just of content, but of culture, of energy, of experience, of meaning. You shape the space around you by the frequency you hold. And your frequency is rising because you finally remembered you were never just chasing a dream, you are the dream. The dream of an ancestor who never got the chance. The dream of a child looking up to you. The dream of the person you used to be, whispering, don't stop, you're becoming everything we prayed for. So don't stop now. When the resistance comes, face it. When fear rises, breathe through it. When the path disappears, become your own compass. Because you don't need guarantees. You don't need maps. You just need the knowing. The knowing that you're no longer building a life that looks good. You're building a life that feels true. And truth will always be louder than appearance. It will always win in the end. Because while the world worships the highlight reel, the soul aches for something real. You are that realness. You are that voice. You are that flame that says to the darkness, not today, not here, not in my presence. Because your presence is powerful. Your energy is medicine. Your voice is a frequency that shakes cages and opens doors. Don't dilute that. Don't hide that. Don't wait for the world to understand it. Live it anyway. Speak it anyway. Shine anyway. Because the world doesn't change when you become what it expects. It changes when you become exactly who you are. And that time is not someday. That time is now. Let go of the idea that you need to be perfect to begin. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need the full plan. You don't need 10 steps ahead. You just need the next step, the courage to take it, the conviction to keep taking it, especially when the results haven't shown up yet. Because what you're building is rooted in the invisible first. The most powerful things in life always are faith, love, conviction, clarity. You can't always see them, but you can feel when they're real. And when your life is aligned with something real, the universe moves. Doors unlock, mountains shift, but not instantly, not comfortably, not without resistance. And that's the point. The resistance is proof you're doing something that matters. No one gets resistance for staying the same. No one gets pushback for playing small. It's the moment you choose growth, truth, vision, that life says, okay, let's see how much you want it. That's where most people stop, but not you. You weren't built for convenience. You were built for contribution. You weren't built to conform. You were built to create. So create with what you have. Create with trembling hands. Create even when no one claps. Create because your soul needs it. Because something inside you refuses to go numb again. It's okay if they don't get it yet. It's okay if it doesn't make sense on paper. It's okay if the road you're walking doesn't have a name yet. You're not here to walk a paved path. You're here to pave it. Every step forward carves a trail for someone else. Every act of faith becomes a torch for those still in the dark. And this world needs your light. Not the polished, performative light, but the raw human sacred light. The kind that says, I don't have all the answers, but I'm still here. Still trying, still choosing to believe. That kind of light changes people. It changed you. It saved you when you thought you were done. So now you become the light bearer, the one who holds space for others, the one who breaks cycles without applause, the one who shows what it looks like to live with soul when the world is lost in performance. And when you live from soul, everything changes. Because soul doesn't chase, it attracts Soul doesn't pervade, radiates. Soul doesn't beget, embodies. That's what the great ones had. Not just skills, but presence. Not just ambition, but alignment. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. He didn't have a social media platform. He didn't have sponsors, followers, or filters, but he had soul. He had truth. And truth echoes far longer than trends. So stop measuring your life by numbers. Stop reducing your worth to likes and views. Start living a life so aligned, so authentic, so real, that people feel your energy, even in silence. That's legacy. That's influence. That's what you're here for. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're chasing alignment. Alignment with your purpose. Alignment with your values. Alignment with the quiet voice that says, this is the way, walk it. And walking it won't always make sense. You'll lose people. You'll outgrow places. You'll question everything, but that's the price of authenticity. Because real growth always comes with grief. Grief for the version of you who was okay with less. Grief for the connections that can't meet you at your level. Grief for the comfort you have to leave behind. But let that grief be holy. Let it be proof that you're becoming the person who can hold more, who can love deeper, who can lead with clarity and not ego. And that version of you, that version is unstoppable. That version doesn't need to yell to be powerful, doesn't need to convince to be worthy. That version is grounded, rooted, untouchable. Because they know the truth. The power isn't out there. It was always in you. Your voice, your vision, your values, your fire. You just needed to remember. You just needed the silence long enough to hear your soul whisper, it's time. Time to write the book. Time to start the thing. Time to leave what's been draining you. Time to stop waiting for permission. Because someday is not guaranteed. But now is sacred. Now is where life happens. Now is where futures are built. Now is where you stop watching and start creating. No more excuses. No more deferring your dreams to a version of you who doesn't exist yet. You are the one, and your time is now. The most dangerous lie you'll ever hear is you have time, because it sounds harmless. It sounds patient. It sounds wise. But in disguise, it's the voice of delay. It's the sound of settling. It's the lullaby that rocks your potential back to sleep. Yes, life is long, but it's also urgent. And the longer you postpone your power, the heavier it becomes. You weren't created to live half awake, to scroll through someone else's life while ignoring your own, to keep saying, maybe next year, until you've run out of years to give. This isn't rehearsal. This isn't practice. This moment is the only stage that's real, and what you do with it, that's your legacy. Because you don't build legacy when you're ready. You build it when you're brave. Brave enough to begin before you're confident. Brave enough to show up even when you're scared. Brave enough to speak the truth that no one else will say. And make no mistake, the truth will cost you. But the cost of silence, that's even higher, because every time you mute yourself to make others comfortable, you send a message to your soul, you don't matter. Not today, not anymore. But your soul, your soul was born to roar, not in aggression, but in authenticity, the quiet, unshakable roar of someone who has remembered who they are, of someone who doesn't need to dominate a room because they command it through presence alone. That's what happens when you stop waiting. When you stop asking the world, am I enough yet? You become enough the moment you choose to live like you already are, because you are not when you get the job, not when you're verified, not when they finally see your worth. You are enough now in your becoming, in your learning, in your stumbling steps toward something sacred. And your sacred path doesn't need to look like anyone else's. You don't need to monetize every passion. You don't need to brand your healing journey. You don't need to turn your purpose into a product. Sometimes just becoming whole is the most radical success of all. Because in a world chasing more, you chose to be here. To feel, to breathe, to become, and that is revolutionary. So don't measure your progress by speed. Measure it by depth, by how present you are, by how rooted your peace is, by how clearly your values are reflected in your decisions. It's not about how fast you go. It's about how real you grow. And growth, it doesn't always look like expansion. Sometimes it looks like contraction, like pulling back, like pruning the branches so the roots can go deeper. Don't fear the seasons where things fall away. They are sacred too. Because what is meant for you will never require you to abandon yourself. What is aligned with you will never need you to betray your values. What is calling your name will never shame you for growing into it. The right life will stretch you eyes, but it won't shatter you. It will ask for discipline, not destruction. Sacrifice, not self-erasure. So listen to the subtle cues. The body knows, the soul knows, the still small voice inside knows when you've settled long enough. And that voice is getting louder. It's the reason you can't scroll for too long anymore without feeling hollow. It's the reason comfort is starting to itch. It's the reason you're restless in rooms you used to fit inside. Because you're outgrowing the illusion. And now you're ready for something more. Not more stuff, but more substance, more meaning, more alignment, more days that feel like they belong to you. And to get there, you have to let go. Let go of the mask. Let go of the performance. Let go of the need to please everyone but yourself. Because the moment you choose truth over image, you reclaim your life. You remember what it's like to laugh from the gut, to create without fear, to walk into rooms without shrinking or shouting, just being rooted, being open, being whole. And when you live whole, you give others permission to do the same. You become the mirror. You become the invitation. You become the proof that it's possible. And that's what you were born to be, the proof that healing is real, the proof that love transforms, the proof that purpose isn't found in the distance. It's found when you return home to yourself. So come home, not someday, not when the conditions are perfect, not when you're finally fearless. Come home now, with the fear, with the scars, with the unfinished story. Come home and own it, because your life doesn't begin one day. It begins the moment you stop postponing your power and start living from the fire inside your chest. And that moment is now. There is no magic day on the calendar where fear disappears. There is no morning where confidence greets you at the door and carries you to your dream. There is only this moment, this breath, this pulse inside your chest saying, go. Not because you have no fear, but because something inside you is greater than fear. Every inventor, every artist, every visionary you admire did not begin from a place of certainty. They began from a place of calling. Edison wasn't a genius on day one. He was curious. He was relentless. He was willing to fail 1,000 times so the world could have light. And you carry the same spark in you. But comfort is the enemy of that spark. It makes you forget, makes you numb, makes you trade your mission for routine, your fire for security, your purpose for paycheck. And then it whispers, this is just how life is. No, life is what you choose to make of it. It's not meant to be endured. It's meant to be ignited. It's not meant to be scrolled through. It's meant to be felt. And when you feel deeply, you live differently. You see the small miracles again. You see how every conversation can be healing, how every sunrise is a reminder that you still have time to try again. But don't confuse that grace with permission to waste your days. Time is sacred currency, and how you spend it is how you shape your soul. Every hour you give to distractions, every week you give to doubt, every month you give to a life that doesn't reflect your truth, is a seed you could have planted. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to break the habits. It's hard to shift the mindset. It's hard to believe in a version of yourself you haven't met yet. But what's harder? Living a whole life wondering what could have been. Regret doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet moments. When you're alone, when the noise fades, when the mask is off and you're left with the question, did I even try? You were not born to wonder. You were born to witness your strength, to witness your gifts in action, to witness the transformation that happens when you stop waiting to be chosen and start choosing yourself, because no one is coming to rescue you. No mentor, no partner, no opportunity. You are not Cinderella. You are the fire. You are not the one waiting to be picked. You are the one building the table. And when they don't invite you, you create your own space. When they doubt you, you become undeniable. When the world says, you can't run, you whisper, watch me. Because confidence isn't given, it's earned in the silence, in the sweat, in the moments no one sees. It's earned when you show up anyway. When you give your best without applause, when you trust the process long before it trusts you back. This is the kind of belief that changes lives. Not the fluffy kind, not the motivational posters, but the belief forged in pain, in perseverance, in getting up when you thought you couldn't anymore. That's the belief that built people like Oprah, who turned trauma into purpose, who rose from silence to become a voice for millions. That's the belief that turned Henry Ford from a farmer's son into a man who redefined modern industry. He didn't wait for approval, he created systems. That's the belief that lives in you, but only if you feed it. Feed it with action, feed it with vision, feed it with the kind of habits that remind you who you are, even when the world forgets, because the world will forget. It will try to define you by your failures, by your resume, by your background, but your soul is bigger than all of that. And the soul cannot be quantified. It can only be expressed. So express it through your work, through your service, through the way you love when it's hard, through the way you show up when no one thanks you. Because the truth is, you don't need a stage to make an impact. The mother who chooses patience over punishment is changing the world. The teacher who sees the student behind the behavior is shaping the future. The friend who checks in when everyone else forgets is practicing divine service. This is purpose. It's not always loud. It's not always glamorous, but it's always sacred. And sacred things take discipline, not perfection, discipline. Discipline to rise. Discipline to focus. Discipline to hold yourself to a higher standard, even when no one is watching, because the person you become in private is the person who shows up in public. So build yourself in the quiet. Train your mind like a warrior. Shape your days like a sculptor with marble. Your masterpiece isn't some far-off dream. Your masterpiece is your life, and your life isn't built by accident. It's built by intention. Intentional mornings, intentional thoughts, intentional boundaries, intentional love, because everything you do or don't do is a vote for the person you're becoming. So vote wisely Every time you hit snooze, you vote for delay. Every time you show up, you vote for destiny. Every time you speak life over yourself, you vote for transformation. And when enough votes are cast, momentum happens. You won't even notice it at first. You'll just start to feel different, more clear, more centered, more you. Until one day you'll look back and you'll barely recognize the version of you who once waited for someday. Because you became the person who stopped waiting, the person who decided to live with urgency and grace, the person who realized that the most dangerous place to be is comfortable in a life that doesn't inspire you. But you escaped that trap. You woke up, you remembered, and now the rest of your life starts today. There's a version of you out there, not in the distance, not in some future fantasy, but here, inside you, waiting to be set free, not created, revealed, the version of you who no longer asks for permission, who no longer dims their fire to make others comfortable, who no longer needs applause to know they're on the right path. Because now you've remembered something eternal. Your life is not a transaction. It's not a resume. It's not a race to the top. It's a revelation, a sacred offering, a mirror that shows others what's possible when a human being chooses to live fully right now. There are people you haven't met yet whose lives will be changed by your courage. There are rooms you haven't entered yet where your voice will be the light someone's been searching for. There are dreams you haven't dreamed yet, but they've already started whispering your name. They're not waiting for you to be perfect. They're waiting for you to start, to rise from the mess, to dance through the storm, to believe with the kind of conviction that makes failure irrelevant. Because when you're aligned with purpose, you don't chase success, you attract it. Not because of magic, but because you're vibrating with something deeper than achievement, you're vibrating with meaning. And meaning, that's what we're all looking for. Not another dopamine hit, not another follower, but a life that feels like truth, a life that feels like home. And home, my friend, has never been out there. It's always been in your breath, in your choice, in your willingness to say, this moment is enough. I am enough. This is where I begin. You don't need more time. You don't need more resources. You don't need the stars to align. You just need one decision, one step, one yes to yourself. Because when you say yes to you say yes to the ripple, to the souls who will rise because they saw you rise, to the children who will grow up in the presence of someone who lives whole, to the world that shifts just a little because you finally stopped playing small. This is what you've been waiting for. Not some sign from above, not some cosmic breakthrough, just this moment and your willingness to own it. And I know the fear will come. I know the doubt will whisper. I know the old patterns will try to drag you back. But now you know better. Now you remember you are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to rewrite them. You are not here to carry the pain of those before you. You are here to alchemize it into power. You are not here to shrink into the mold. You are here to shatter it with truth. You are a creator, a healer, a warrior of light, a witness of grace, a vessel of divine love. And your presence is not accidental. You are the prayer of your ancestors, the dream your younger self couldn't yet articulate, the voice your future self will thank you for. So don't you dare wait another day. Don't you dare bury that spark. Don't you dare believe the lie that it's too late. Because your story is just getting started. And this time, you're not writing it in fear. You're writing it in fire. The fire of truth, the fire of purpose, the fire of radical self-love. And when the fire is real, You don't need to chase the light. You become it. So go now. Not someday, not later, not when they believe in you. Now. Now is the time to rise. Now is the time to build. Now is the time to stop rehearsing and start living. Because the world needs you, the real you, the brave you, the you who is tired of waiting and ready to walk in the fullness of your own becoming. This is not the end. This is not the beginning. This is the moment it all changes. And it changes because you finally decided to believe what's been true all along. Your time is now. Not someday,